Welcome to the Startup Grind.
Tonight we're here to listen to Startup Grind, and we're listening to Rob from Quirk. Now Rob exited his company, which he started in 1999, in his garage apparently, or in his bedroom, and grown into a company where he sold it, I think last month, for about 400 million rand. That's about $35 million, which is, I think, a lot of money. So we were asking him about how that journey that he undertook to get there, and how he suddenly managed to find so many more friends. So, Rob, as also the other cool thing is that he's actually been voted as one of the most influential by the Bookmarks Awards, one of the most influential guys in the digital space. Guys, can you please give a massive round of applause? Stand up. Woo! There you go, there you go. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us. You can take the stairs, or you can jump up here. You can sit this side.
Do you mind if I sit here? Oh, this is actually my better side.
Oh, right. Okay, we can do this. We can do this. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us here this evening. Before I carry on, Paul, quickly tell us about the competition, please.
So, we're running a Twitter competition tonight, so we're going to be tracking all the tweets that you guys have been pushing out using the hashtag StartCPT. We've got a wonderful prize in store, and I'll hold that back for now to keep you waiting for that. And then also, you guys have been putting your business cards in your little fishbowl. We've got a couple of nice works contents a lot to give away after that. So get the activity going. We've been training every month now for the last couple of months. We'd like to keep that going. So we'll pass it over to you guys. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So tweet, tweet, tweet. You're all about Twitter, right?
I am not.
Not at all. Digital marketing
You guys
guru.
tweet a lot. Seriously. The last week, I feel like I've actually got some sort of sex toy in my pocket. You guys should do more work, seriously.
But
I've turned it off.
Did you actually eventually decide that this
It was
Twitter
weird
thing
though, at lunchtime today, it all just stopped. And then I just realized right now that why it stopped. iOS 8 decided that I don't like Twitter anymore. Which may have been a
Apparently there are some issues. They said that you can't roll back to iOS 7 either. Don't
say that to me now.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I basically got a brick in my pocket.
Well, you're an Apple fan, right?
I use a MacBook. I mean, I don't use a MacBook.
You don't use a Mac?
No, I use a Sony Vaio.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
With Windows 7.
Hey, that's better than my mom running an XP,
But I'm very proud of my Sony Vaio. I really am.
Okay.
Because it's honestly a better machine than any MacBook on the planet.
There we go.
And I would like to tell you why. I would like to tell you why. Because I get this shit a lot. So, a couple of things. Firstly, it's lighter than a MacBook Air. So, when you come to me with the lighter than story, don't.
No.
Main thing, built-in SIM card. Life-changing experience. Open up, boom, online. None of this dongle. And have you ever tried to use the Telkom dongle with a MacBook? Goodness me. Doesn't work that great. Built-in 3G, lighter, more powerful than it certainly was 2 years ago when I bought it, and I'm very proud of it, and I love Windows 7.
It's nice. It's mobile. You're on the road a lot?
Yeah, and I don't really use much desktop stuff, so it's all mobile, and I know how to do it, but I get so much flack from my team, because they're obviously all Apple people.
Sure.
I love Apple.
It's the image, right?
I just want something that's super powerful.
But speaking about the image, apparently you've got to work in these shorts. Tell us about these shorts.
I do wear shorts to work.
There we go.
I'm getting sweaty and hot now. Well, that's not even my water. I think I just drank your water. I'm taking both, G.
That's fine. That's fine. I'll get somebody else to bring me some more.
No, a client once. I used to be a bit self-conscious about my pants, and I was once standing outside the office about 10 years ago, and I used to have smart days and casual days because I don't like wearing long pants. Okay. I'm a casual guy. And I was standing outside the office chatting to someone. I was wearing tatty shorts, no shoes. Client from big financial services company pitches up unexpected. And I was like, I'm really sorry about this tatty dress. And he said, Rob, we do not hire you for your pants. We hire you for your brain. That was it. Never wore pants
Done.
again.
Done. But I think the caveat there is that, or caveat is that you do need to have the brains.
I'm not saying I'm proof of that, but
Humbleness. Let's give him a round of applause.
no.
Okay. Right. So basically, in Startup Grind, we want to find out about you as the entrepreneur, and we want to know when you started out as a kid. I heard stories of 7 or 15 different companies you started up before you even got to high school or matriculated.
Look, companies is a stretchy word.
Well,
I started 17 small businesses while I was at school,
Nice.
most of which were banned.
Let me guess, too naughty, way too naughty.
For being disruptive. Not in like the Uber sense.
So
of
you were like in
disrupting the taxi industry. It's more disrupting the classroom.
Okay. Did you start shooting guns?
I've got a major issue with it, actually, because I think it's retarded that you would stop entrepreneurship in a school, but they absolutely did.
They do their stuff for one.
They just don't think
We've got a problem
entrepreneurs are
with
good in
education.
school. But actually, I think it's probably the best thing you can teach someone.
Think out of the box. Instead of going to
I'm happy to have entrepreneurship in the box. Just have entrepreneurship. It's the key for South Africa.
building it. And there was a story about a mafia. There was a kid. They used to block the guys from coming in. He had this whole mafia
Shit, you have
relationship.
done your research. So, like, mafia is a strong word as well. It was more of a cartel.
All right. What age were you? Sorry, what age were you for this?
5. So it's not actually as bad as it sounds. It's a simple story. So when I was in grade 1, the gradies, as we were called.
Right.
Well, I don't know what you call grade 1 anymore these days. Actually, it's still grade 1, isn't it? We had grade 1 and grade 2.
Grade 1,
and then
yes,
standard
yes,
1.
yes.
That's how old I am. And I was the smallest boy in the school until standard 4, actually, the smallest boy in the school. And we used to get let out for break about 10 minutes early so that we wouldn't get crushed at the tuck shop. So I would sit by the door, and then the 2 biggest guys in the class, Ryan May and Duncan McCarthy, I'll never forget them. So as the bell would ring, the Grady's bell, I would leg it to the tuck shop. Ryan and Duncan would hold back the class. I just needed like 5 seconds. I just had to get to the counter first.
Yes, exactly.
Pop down my 10 rand note. Every ice pop you have, young lady.
And she'd give it to all
And that
of
was
you.
a mom. And then they'd give me all the ice pops. What are you doing here again? Give me all the ice pops in a box. We think they were like 2 cents each. And then we would go outside and sell them
10
for
rand.
5 cents each and eat the profits. And I always had red
Capitalist, eh?
fruit juice around my mouth.
Mark, because when I found this, I was like, how did you manage to convince these guys to do that? Besides the fact that they obviously get a bit more money. And
No,
more
it was a threesome.
Threesome.
No, I mean, in a
Three-
business.
Oh!
In a business
Whoa,
class.
so early on the show. Hey, I think
But then my
mom
mom was actually called into the school because I was bullying. And she was like, have you seen my child? He's basically a midget.
You're
Who
the
is he
smallest
bullying?
kid.
So it wasn't really bullying. It was more just
Clever
manipulation.
cartel, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, later on, you went to UCT, and you studied like several different courses.
No, only one. Business
Only one.
science.
I thought it was business science and.
No. I mean, some
'Cause
things
you were quite,
I may have repeated some things because I liked them so much. When I left business science,
that
I
was them.
started studying psychology through
There we
UNISA.
go.
And then I sat down to write an exam and thought, what the hell am I doing here? I hate exams, and I got up and left. I carried on studying, but I didn't write the exams. I hate exams. I don't have the attention span to sit there for 3 hours in a cold room with a pencil.
Well, you see, the thing is this, in our marketing of these events, we try and keep our emails as short as possible because people do not read more than 3 words. Literally, it's doom, doom, and they like swipe the email. So how did you find your attention span helping you with your business?
It doesn't.
Does it?
No, I have no attention span.
That's why you pay other people to have the attention span.
I mean, I don't look at it that way, but I have so many weaknesses. That's one of them, and I learned pretty quickly that the best route is actually to play to your strengths and not your weaknesses. I used to spend a lot of time, and in fact guilt, trying to fix the things I was bad at. And then, I think like 2005 or 2006, we did this at Quirk. We did this psychological profile assessment thing. I think it was a disc analysis, a Thomas test. And I got the results of this, and I read it, and I actually hid it from myself for 2 months because it was so bad. It was basically, you are useless, go and find another job. And then after about 2 months, I said, okay, look, I can't hide from this forever. So I pulled it out, and I started planning how I was going to educate myself on all these weaknesses. And I did that for about 4 or 6 months, and I found myself drastically better at those things, but substantially more unhappy, substantially less happy. I never really get unhappy. And and then I had this realization that I can't continue like this. So that's when I started hiring people that were good at those things.
Okay.
That's the best thing I ever did. And actually, I mean, maybe by coincidence or whatever, that's actually when Quirk started taking off, when I started stopping doing the things I'm crap at.
And get people in right. Now, I've got a quick, on that point where you go and you're starting out, you've got a company building apparently really bad websites.
Terrible.
Terrible.
Only the
Your
first
words,
one
eh?
or
I'm
two
taking
were
these
really
your
bad.
words.
No, they were really bad.
In the beginning, I'm a web developer. My website
CA
sucked.
Systems was our first website for $1,000, and it was appalling. And myself and Liam figured out
how did I
to
promise?
build
How
it.
did somebody actually pay me for this?
It took us 3 days to get these 2 lines to line up.
Right? I know.
Yeah.
I'm there.
And then we discovered Dreamweaver, which saved us so much time.
Just very messy code, but it saves you
terrible.
time. It looks amazing.
I'm
but
grateful that is not around anymore.
I
And then we
agree
built a website for a trailer company, which for some reason we used cows all over the website. I still don't understand the logic behind that marketing decision, but the client wasn't that thrilled by the cows. We thought they were great. We were misguided.
Okay, so after you were studying, you decided to go into, you started this business on your bedroom, apparently.
In my
And it
bedroom,
went
yeah.
In your bedroom.
Yeah.
Not on it, are you sure?
No, definitely in it.
Okay, cool. So you started in your bedroom, because I don't know, you could have been living in your car or something.
No,
and-
I wasn't that bad.
Okay, it wasn't that bad. But you did have a few years of badness, rough times.
Yeah. We made no money in the
Zero
beginning,
money.
at least 5 years.
And it built and you built. How did you go from the bedroom and scale it up? Talk us through that process.
So 99 was pure bedroom. It was me and a 17-inch monitor.
Yeah.
17-inch,
back in the day, 99,
I tell you,
Styling, bro,
that
styling.
thing could play a mean game of Heretic too. I mean, business. And actually, I think one of the motivators for starting Quirk, well, okay, it was money, definitely, because I had none, and I wasn't going to do any other work. But it was actually the reason why we started selling hardware, A, that it was easy, and B, I wanted a really good graphics card. And I couldn't afford to pay retail.
Too, right? Come on.
So I got this thing, it's old tech now, it's this thing called a Voodoo 2, which at the time had my roommate in the other room, and I'd just smoke him the whole day, because he couldn't see anything, and I was running around with a fire staff, invisible. It was so great. And then we did some work.
And they did some late hours in the...
Yeah.
Okay, here's a question I want to ask as an entrepreneur. Because some guys you have to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and work hard and go to bed by 8. What time do you go to bed at night?
So at the moment, I go to bed pretty early, but I've always actually been a night owl. I now have a beautiful 1-year-old who chooses not to let me sleep in. And it's a lottery, whether it's,
Okay.
8 o'clock, which it was on Sunday, which was glorious. I was still awake at 7. Oh, what's going on here? Can I go wake her up? Because I want to play now. Then this morning, it was far earlier than that. And she
So now
smells
you have to,
bad
go,
in
you
the
have to now
morning.
go along those lines.
Yeah, no, I like it. I want to play with her, but sometimes you just like, oh, please go back to sleep. This morning was one of them. You're just lying there going, come on, go back to sleep. And then, but you can see her. She's standing at her cot going, and you pick her up and you take her to bed. And she smells terrible. But it's
So
awesome.
experience.
Yeah, but I used to. I'm generally my natural thing is a late owl. Yeah.
Okay. Right now, with social media, you were like on the forefront of the social or digital advertising, let's put it that way rather. And how did you manage to find the right staff or the right skill sets? Because I mean, not many people were doing this.
We taught our own.
Okay, so it was in-house training.
Yeah, very much.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you still do that, or I know you got like a red and yellow school and those things.
We don't do it as well as we should, honestly.
Okay.
It's actually one of my big realizations of the weekend. I'm busy reading. I'm the kind of oak that reads a book and then everything changes. And then I forget about it and everything goes back to normal. And I'm reading this really good book by Ben Horowitz called The Hard Thing About Hard Things, which is an excellent book. And he's been one of my heroes for a while. I love his blog. And I had this kind of realization. We do train, of course. Sure. You can't not. But I had this realization about how much training we could do and the benefit it would have.
Okay.
And so...
And the amount of hours that a person has to work, because they're working really hard. I mean, there's a lot of work going through. Are you going to like go and say, right, we need to train these guys, so we're going to scale down their hours and get more staff in, or how are you going to manage that?
I don't think training has to be that much of a burden. It's normally more of a burden on the trainer.
Okay, to get the right trainer.
No, I want my team to do the training.
Oh, right. So they get and they train it, and so it scales through down there.
Look, I think your boss must train you, because then you will you'll have more faith and respect in your boss. Your boss will be more knowledgeable of what you're doing. You will still subconsciously, rightly or wrongly, believe that your boss knows more than he's telling you, so therefore your boss knows more, therefore I want to work with this oak or lady. Whereas I think too many companies outsource it at best to HR, at worst to some third party. Look, some stuff it is better to get a third party training. Like, even I go and do courses. I did a course, maybe it was about a year ago, called Scott Work. It's the best piece of education I've ever done in my life.
Scott Work.
It's a negotiating course. It's phenomenal.
So you can negotiate your
lease. I did.
Okay, there we go.
By total coincidence, me and my 2 senior execs did this course, and then a week later, sat in front of Darby, the landlord. And we got a good deal.
Nice.
Yeah. But Darby would also say he got a good deal, and that's what Scott Work teaches you, is how to find the things that are less valuable to you but more valuable to them, so they are grateful to have them, and you get more on the things that are important to you, and helps you analyze the situation to find those imbalances, because those imbalances are actually the secret. Where something is worth R1 to me and R1 to you, it's a zero-sum exchange. But if something's worth R1 to me and 10 Rand to you, and actually there's more of those things than you think, and that's what Scott Work teaches you. It's the best piece of education I've ever done.
But you have to know your business, and you have to know what you're
Not really. I mean, the case studies that they take you through the course, and it's quite bizarre. You go into a room, have a role play, and you get filmed, and then you come back and watch yourself, which is quite disconcerting. And like the role plays were kind of, you are management, you are labor, you are the union. You each get a one-pager that no one else can see and an objective at the bottom, and you think, there's no ways we're all going to hit our objective. And you can, by analyzing and asking the right questions and things like that.
From Quirk, you did a lot of, one of the questions that was asked was where's Alex? Is Alex here? Don't see him. Okay.
Who's Alex?
Alex, One Up Agency.
Cool.
Yes. So they do social media. And I wanted to, thank you very much, sweetie.
You're not Alex.
That's my fiancée.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for that lame golf clap. Thank you. No respect.
These guys, they pay no attention.
They're
tweeting all the time. They're tweeting all the time.
I know.
So your return on investment is very important in social media. And tracking it is also important, but yet there are very few tools out there that are able to effectively track it for you. If the small business doesn't have the kind of capital to afford those expensive tracking tools, and they've eventually found the channel that they want to specify on, how do they best allocate their money across the social?
How do they find the channel if they don't have the tools?
Well,
so for example, you're asking me the question.
Yeah, okay. If you're doing for Facebook and you say, okay, I'm going to spend X amount on Facebook, X amount on Twitter, X amount on LinkedIn.
Surely you need to know the ROI to make that decision in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. But the problem is you don't have the tools. So you're going to decide, okay, fine, I'm going to go with, say, Facebook and just try it out, because that's what everybody goes. Like, you know what, we'll try this for 1 month and see how it goes. And then you measure back on that. But the actual tools that are out there.
So look, I don't think you need tools. I mean, tools they're useful, but I think if you're relying on them, you're a bit lazy. It's very difficult so ROI is not about likes and engagement and shares and tweets and retweets and favorites. That's the new thing, the favorite, the star. Even I use it. It's like, I don't want to retweet you, star. And only you and I will know.
Now we know. Okay.
Everyone does it. One of you oaks went and starred like 17,000 of my posts this morning, of previous posts. It was a bit creepy because you went far back. Yeah.
Somebody's been stalking you.
A little bit. But I think that, ROI at the end of the day is about revenue, ideally profit.
Okay.
To find a social channel that accurately links to that, it's going to be a challenge, unless you're selling widgets or whatever you're selling online. If you are, like one of our clients is Caltex, for example. Now, can I tie a liter of petrol to a social media campaign, piece of work alike? No, no one can. But what you can do is, say, for argument's sake, over the course of a year, you track revenue, sales, whatever you want to do, in a hardcore business metric, proper, this puts money in the bank, pays the employees metric. That's all that counts. You track that. Then you take your various campaigns through your various channels, TV, radio, social media, billboards, high fives, whatever the case they may be. And then you overlay them. At the very best, you do some sort of correlation analysis, ideally something a bit deeper, like a regression. And then you can start to see relationships between the two. And if you see, for argument's sake, that 3 days after a big TV push, we get a spike in revenue, you can, with a certain amount of certainty, say, okay, TV has got this impact. If you're running Facebook competitions, which obviously you can't do, promotions, campaigns, whatever you want to call it, and if you see that correlation, then you can create an association. I think maybe the premise is also worth challenging in that, I'm an advocate of ROI. I'm not an advocate of wasteful spend. But I think for certain brands, there's a certain minimum that is expected online, and it isn't. You have to separate that out from ROI. Okay. So if someone says on Twitter, Caltex, talk to me, and you ignore them forever, you will have a negative ROI, even if you can't measure it. If that picks up speed for whatever reason, and it turns out badly, it's going to be a bad thing. So you have to have a certain kind of base level. Any additional expense over that needs to be tracked, and I think marketers who tell you they can't tie it back to ROI, I'm not expecting 100% tie back, but at least some level, because there's no marketing department in the world that doesn't have 200 things it needs to do with 100 budget. Everyone has that problem, so therefore every decision you make is a trade-off. No marketing department has got extra money that they don't know what to do with. Sometimes in the last month of the financial year they do, but that's a different reason. And then they pay you a lot. But you're always having to make these trade-off decisions, and therefore you have an obligation to your stakeholders to measure that stuff and to make informed decisions and not
just throw things in different directions, different buckets.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's okay to experiment. Like Coke has got this thing that they do. I think it's either 60-30-10 or 70-20-10. The 70 is on bankers, so your big World Cup sponsorships and blah, 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 blah. The 10, I'll speak to the 10 before the 20, because effectively the 20 is about the second step of the 10. But the 10% of their budget is pure 100% experimentation. They are cool with it failing because it might work. If that then works, they take a learning from that. If it needs a bit more experimentation, they put it into the 20% of the budget. Sure. If that delivers, they put it into the 60 or 70, whatever it is. And so they have this purposeful bucket of experimentation. And I think that's quite a valuable approach.
That is.
Look, they also have a fair amount of marketing to budget.
Yeah.
And everyone says, that Coke is all about the brand. Have you ever tasted Pick and Pay Cola? It's cock. It is. Coke is delicious.
Right.
It is. I mean,
maybe we've been brought up on it, but
it's the red ambulance. It's tasty. And nothing else is the same.
Well, yeah.
But that feeling when you crack open the can on a hot day, it's so good. It's like it hurts your
throat. I feel the
so
same way about beer. Hey?
I do sometimes feel the same way about beer.
All about the taste.
But nothing like a Coke.
So content is king, basically.
Depends on how good the content is. Context is king. Whew, did I just take a cliche and smack it down?
You did. Okay. Right. Here's a question here about Peter Venter. I've been attending a lot of events like this. It's inspiring, but how do you get from having ideas to actually running a successful business?
So let's take the word successful out.
Okay.
Just do it. Then you might become successful. And I think that's it. I mean, you have to just crack on. You have to make a plan.
With passion, just go for it.
Yeah, you have to hustle. That's actually, when I invest in small companies, that's the number one thing I look for, the hustle. For the oak there's a company I'm investing in now, and all of my friends think I'm absolutely insane. Because the oak who's running it is mad. He is totally disorganized. He doesn't know what a business is if it hit him in the face. But he's a hustler, and he's amazing, the stuff this oak pulls off. And he's a hustler, and and by hustler I mean like in a good way, he will phone up the biggest boss in the world, and he'll sweet talk him over the phone. Doesn't really know the business side, but the actual product, he is a master, and he's got passion like I've never seen before, and so...
No matter what he does, he's going to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, if he came to me with a basket of sand and said, I want to start a business, I'd say, okie dokie, let's go. Because I believe in him.
About the people.
Yeah, he's like a boer maak 'n plan. That is the soak.
That's a good cliche. Right? Okay, now, Marcus Christensen.
Do you start a business because it's profitable or because you're passionate about it?
Or because you don't have any money and don't want a boss.
Bingo.
C.
Done. But I don't know, entrepreneurs work 80 hours a week, so they don't have to walk the mandatory 40 hours.
So look, if I started because I was profitable, I would have lasted about a day because we didn't make any money. The second thing, look, I was interested, even passionate would be a strong word. I'm now passionate, but I was just interested in technology and marketing. And so I figured I could, look, having started a whole bunch of unsuccessful businesses at school, actually they weren't all unsuccessful, there were some goodies. Having started those, I didn't have any lack of belief. And so I thought I'd muddle my way through it. And actually the priority genuinely was not to have a boss, because my last boss was an ass.
Okay. Last boss, in December 1998, where were you at the waitering?
I was waitering at Fratelli's at the Randburg waterfront, and the boss's name was Nenko.
Nenko. And what did he want you to do that caused you to...
Clean up baby urine.
No.
True story.
Done.
Which I refused to do.
And you decided, screw that's it. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna do it. And you started quitting.
There's also something about restaurant managers that is special. When they own the restaurant, that's normal. When they don't, there's an inverse proportion between age and intelligence. The older a non-owner restaurant manager is, the dumber they are. And the smarter they think they are.
All right.
And I know, I had a series of them.
You mean the clever guys get out early?
The Oaks who were the bosses. Like I had a boss once I worked at 4 different ocean baskets. And the first one, my boss's name was Lucky, a Greek guy. And he was so good. Fired my ass. Fairly so. I went on holiday without telling him. But the trade-off was worth it. I was in first year varsity. All of my friends who were girls were going on their matric holiday. What would you have done?
Right.
Exactly. So worthwhile. I was quite surprised he didn't find me before I got back. But he waited until I got back. I thought he was going to punch me, which also wouldn't have surprised me because he was like that. But he was a good guy, actually, because I could see that his heart was in the right place. Whereas the manager, I had a series of bad, and I don't gel with those oaks because they don't have any substance. I'm broad stroking, of course. There's some nice ones.
Sure.
I haven't found any.
Okay. Next question. By Anonymous. Is the digital agency... Watch out for the virus. Is the digital agency market overcrowded at the moment?
Yes.
Totally overcrowded.
It's no barrier to entry. So it's good for the customers.
Is this not South
And
Africa
actually, the word
or
overcrowded, I mean, what do you actually mean by overcrowded? Anonymous? Where's your mask in this room? Overcrowded would imply... In fact, yes. I mean, if you look at it from an economic sense, overcrowded would therefore imply that companies are going out of business, and that is happening, and therefore it is overcrowded. But that's just an economic normalization. I think that's cool.
So it's like weeding out the guys that cannot be able to sustain it and work through it are the ones that will actually make it.
I think the word weeding out is harsh because there's some good people there. But
that's why I didn't try not to use that.
But yeah, I mean, if the opposite of overcrowded is too profitable, and obviously that's a much nicer problem to have. But both are unsustainable.
Too profitable or not actually maybe ahead of the time and nobody's getting into it. Does that make sense? Could that be? And then as it gets on and gets traction, so more people get on board and then it gets overcrowded.
In a mature market, which is where I think we are now, the agency market is about as close to pure competition. I think there's I'm drawing from university here. Someone might be able to help me. I think there's 7 pillars of perfect competition. Okay. I won't try and remember them all now, but we had at least 5 or 6 of them into it. I think the only one which you can argue will never happen is perfect information, but we're also close to that. The supplier has no power, there's no opportunity for collusion, the market is too fragmented. And in a perfectly competitive market, if you're making too much profit, entrants will come in to take some of that profit away. If there's not enough profit, companies will fall out to allow the profit to normalize. So given that's what's happening, I think it is a bit overcrowded. But I think also the agency world is just kind of like that. The key thing is no barriers to entry. That's what makes it really easy and hard to run an agency, because you can just stand up and say, I'm an agency, and you are. It's true. You have to actually sell something maybe, but I'll give you a rand and you give me a high five, you're an agency. A high five agency. And
that's a good name.
But that means also that every single person in this room can compete with you, which makes it tough, which normalizes profits.
Okay. Starting off Quirk, running it, and you eventually moved over to London and setting up there. Tell us about that experience.
I didn't fully move to London because I'm scared of the dark.
Okay, fair enough. There are many hours there.
So we had this lady working for us, and she was great. And she wanted to move to London, so we said, I think the exchange rate was actually about as bad as it is now. And so we thought, we can make some money out of that. So we said to her, open Quirk in London. She lasted about a day. Also, but to be fair on her, our expectations were out of whack. We were paying her in rands, living in London, with the kind of exchange rate that was happening. We couldn't afford London rates, so she literally didn't last long. But I thought there was a good opportunity there, and we'd already had some clients there just online, never met them kind of thing. Actually, some very cool clients, I must say, mainly travel companies. We were big in travel back then. And yeah, and I didn't want to kind of shut it down, even though we didn't really have anything. I wanted to continue it, so I went over there for about 6 months, and then I came back here, and basically for 3 years, I lived the 3-year summer, which was great. Not good for gingers, but...
Hot and humid there in summer.
Yeah.
Yo. And the challenges of actually running a company in London versus South Africa?
Certainly then there was much more competition. There still
In
is
London.
now to a certain... I would say this... It's a weird thing. Like the competition is just better in London. You're up against stiffer
Some
competition,
suppliers,
but the clients are also a bit more advanced,
okay. So they are able to accept
which
the
I think for an
products
agency
and
like us actually works quite well. I think if you are taking a client for a ride, then that won't work for you. Whereas actually for us, an ill-informed client is the worst thing we can have, because then they make decisions out of emotions and suppositions and things like that, whereas we can actually deliver the guts. So it was tough there, but at the time we had a price advantage, which actually I wish I'd never pushed, because I think competing on price is also very difficult long term. Yeah, it was interesting. It was harder than I thought when I arrived, but easier than I would have thought 5 years prior. And actually we've got a pretty decent business there now. It's not huge. They've got a fairly unique positioning. They actually help global brands come into Africa, which is very unique in London. It's allowed them to separate themselves out from the pack, because there's huge competition there. I mean, if you look at the top 100 agencies in London by revenue, they're bigger than all but the top 3 agencies in South Africa. It's quite phenomenal. I mean, the list is really, really long. And that's just the top 100. There's probably 10,000 of them.
Cool. Okay, tell us about fragmented markets, but let's talk about entrepreneurship in Silicon Cape. You quite heavily, or were heavily involved with
Was
heavily involved with that. And tell us about Silicon Cape. What is how did you get involved? Why did you get involved?
So I got chucked in there.
Cool.
I never went to the launch event. I think it was in London at the time. And then they had there's some sort of like public vote for a steering committee. And I got this call from Vinny to say, hey, you're on the steering committee.
Cool.
Awesome, he said, unwillingly. And then we went to this first meeting, and it was great, and blah, blah, blah. And then after about 4 months, Justin was the chairman, and he said, I'm not doing this anymore. And then, it always happens to me in my life. I think I went to the bathroom and came back as the chairman. Well done, Robbie, you're the chairman. Well done for you. And that's the last time I went to the bathroom. I didn't put my hand up for it. I really enjoyed it, though, I must say. Okay. It was pretty cool, and I believe in what Silicon Cape is doing, so I was happy with it from that perspective. But I was spread a bit too thin, so after 3 years, it was time for me to...
And how's we as entrepreneurs in Cape Town can help with the Silicon? What ideas do you have about that? It's a very broad-based question.
Look, I don't think actually... I mean, Silicon Cape always needs help, of course, like any non-profit. But actually, I think the best thing an entrepreneur can do is be an entrepreneur. Like this oak here, I know he's gone now. How can I start a business? Start a business. There's your answer. And
Peter's actually got one. Where's Peter?
Start another one.
There we go.
Yeah, I think that's what people need to do, is just start businesses, fail. And failure is not great. It's not great at all. I've had a few.
But we have to accept those failures. And
yeah, we do. We do. We shouldn't disparage people for failing, but we certainly shouldn't be high-fiving failure. I think it's like, there's like this whole kind of counter-revolution on failure to say it's not that bad. It isn't that bad, but it's not great. You never saw Herschel Gibbs say, yeah, I got a duck. No one ever does that.
Where's Philip? Okay, this one's been voted up now. What do you think makes an exceptional digital agency? How does an agency stand out above the competition?
This is from one of my competitors.
Uh-huh.
Look, once again, economics. You have to deliver. You have to deliver to your clients. How do you do that? I think one of the key things is understanding your client's business, which is actually quite hard to do, often because they don't let you do it. But if you really
they give you the mandate, you don't actually look into the company and see what does that actually mean.
I'll give you an example. So I just actually read this book by the Oaks who started Ogilvy in South Africa, Right Foot, Soul Trip and Make It. Phenomenal story. How many of you are over the age of 30? 4, okay. So
young crowd.
So you guys remember the David Kramer ads and the Volksy bus? Like they did those ads. The right stuff with the shooting the cars to the moon, they did those ads. But what was amazing was they did the Beetle ads, none of the big ones because that was done internationally, but the last Beetle rolled off the South African production line, if I'm not mistaken, 1979. And they obviously needed to replace it. So they replaced it pretty quickly with the Golf 1. And VW globally then brought out the Golf 2, which was a slightly bigger and more expensive car. And these guys at Right Foot, Soul Trip, Make It, it wasn't Ogilvy then, they were basically told that this car that fills this beautiful gap in South Africa, not in Germany, because Germany doesn't necessarily need a Beetle because it's almost too cheap. This car, the Golf 1 that was filling this gap beautifully, was going to disappear. And they were essentially told to, there's this picture, they were given this beige car, and it was basically, the brief was, it's a terrible car with a terrible color, go and sell it. And because they took the time to understand the client's business, they ended up inventing the City Golf, which you may have heard of. And they invented the City Golf. They took that car, they changed the colors, they put the stripes on it, they made it, was it red, yellow, blue? This one's for you. That's old Anne.
Rockets are right there.
And they invented that car. It's amazing. They didn't get under the hood with a spanner.
Sure, but
and it wasn't just the aesthetics of the car. They created the positioning. They tweaked a few things inside. Some stuff had to be stripped out for the sake of cost. Certain stuff they fought to put in. If I'm not mistaken, bigger tires. They needed to make it look sporty so that ultimately it punched above its weight in terms of the perceived value of the car. And I love that story because, I mean, it's 30 years old, that story. It's amazing. And City Golf outsold the Beetle in South Africa, which is quite a thing. And the City Golf would not have existed if they hadn't taken the time to genuinely get to know their client's business. It's an amazing story.
What is the next for Rob? What do you see as the next big trend in the online marketing space? So
those are 2 questions. I'll answer the first one. I still work at Quirk, despite what everyone thinks. I still work at Quirk.
Okay.
Your
from the best.
Your 400 million rand number, because some of my beautiful, sexy, attractive interns are here. That is not what we got paid. I will not tell you what we got paid. We did well, cool. But these figures that get bandied about. I'm not saying it's too high. I'm not saying it's too low. I'm saying it's not correct.
Sorry, it was 350,000. Sorry, 350 million. Sorry,
moving on. So I still work at Quirk and I dig it. And as long as I dig it, I'm staying there. I'm not tied in. I can leave. Okay. But I like it. I like the people. It's a good time.
You're still heavily involved with training and education.
Yeah, we have the Red and Yellow School, which I think for me is kind of, although I can't play an active role or day-to-day role, that is actually my next thing, is education. I want to leave a mark on the world, and I don't want it to be Quirk. Quirk's a marketing agency. I mean, it's fun, and we've got awesome people, but...
It's still a business.
No, I'm happy for the legacy to be a business, but I wanted to like do something profound, like train thousands of people to be awesome, to be better, to be richer.
It's brilliant. Give them a round. There we go. Nice vision. I like it.
And all of you can teach for free.
No
one's got
Speaking of teaching, speaking of free, you got your ebooks now, or your book. Was that part of your growth strategy financially when you wrote that, or was it like a way for you to kind of give back to society what you've learned?
No, a bit of both. I'd been lecturing at UCT for a while, I think back since 2001. This was 2006, I think. And the textbooks were just crap.
Yeah.
They really were. And there was one that had been written by a South African, which was okay, but it was still pretty useless. Okay. And I was finding myself going and lecturing and taking like, massive amounts of printouts of articles and things like that. There used to be this site, I don't even know if it's still around anymore, called ClickZ. Click with a Z.
Oh, right.
I used to call it Clicks until I heard on a podcast someone say ClickZ. So that's what it is. And that was actually where I learned a lot of my stuff. I've read about 15,000 of their articles. I used to keep them all until I deleted them because my PST folder got too large. And I used to print those things out for the students. I love reading stuff. Not good with stories, but I like fiction. I mean, non-fiction. I always get the two confused.
Learning.
Fact, fiction, they sound like the same thing, but they're not. It's like, I can't even tell my left from my right. I have to say knife and fork in my head before I go, it's nice to meet you.
To the left. All right.
No, my directions with me are fork, knife, plate. True.
True story.
It was actually a bit of desperation, but there was certainly this thought that if we gave the book away for free, it was the time when kind of Creative Commons was bustling up. Wikipedia was starting to poke its head into the mainstream, and I thought, there's an opportunity here, and it's one of the best things we ever did. Brilliant. Hell of a hard writing a book. I mean,
it was your whole team, right? It wasn't just you.
Yeah, the first book I'd say I wrote, I'd be lying no matter what I said. But I structured most of it. I wrote big chunks of it. Okay. This book, if there's something left from the original, I wrote that. But that's, honestly, this book, I think it still does, yeah. It has my name on the front. You should see how tiny it is. I make them reduce the font size every year.
What's that, it's like 9, eh?
It's tiny because I actually feel embarrassed, and I don't sign it. Unless it's
so somebody who ever has a signed copy of that book.
Like sometimes if someone begs me, or if I'm sending it to a client, but then I'm not signing a book by the author, then I'm just saying, hi, I hope you enjoy our book, blah, blah, blah. But I feel disingenuous signing it because I didn't write it. It says from the minds of Quirk, and that's who wrote it.
That's who wrote it.
Yeah.
Nice story. Oh, there we go. What do you see for the future of advertising? Charles.
So
great visionary, come make a creative.
So I'll tell you my vibe for Quirk. What guides us is that within 10 years, maybe 2, maybe 10, more likely closer to 10, that digital will give marketing people everything they want except the physical interaction. And therefore, there's going to be a premium on the physical interaction. So you'll be buying a TV ad through a Google type interface. Okay. Which is why Dylan's business is going to be so valuable, because he's on the side of the equation that's about the physical touch. And that physical touch could be an event, and you're mingling, or a party, but it can also be point of sale. Okay. The line at Woolworths that is definitely responsible for most of my chocolate consumption, because you're in that queue and But that's some science right there. That's not guessing. They know that Stokes is going to be in there, and let's put the chocolates in his face.
Right, and close towards the end where you go like, I'm going to lose out. Okay, I better just take this.
I do it all the time. It's shocking. And I've got a major chocolate problem. So if I see in the trolley, if I didn't have to go in that queue...
if we see you in the shops, we'll just slap you on the head and tell you, come right.
I'll get it in my trolley either way.
Okay, so...
I actually, you know what? I am Tim Noakes in the day, chocolate fiend by night.
That's the other question.
And I also like to say this, for the record, I was Noakesing before Noakes. I've been a paleo guy for years. But I paleo just so that I can eat chocolate. Because if I ate bread as well, I would die.
Bread's bad, man. Bread
is from the devil.
Kevin Andrew, at Rob Stokes, how much has your business changed today from the original idea you had? And once you had your business idea, how did you go about financing it?
What a great question, Kevin Andrew. Or Andrew Kevin. So in terms of the original idea, there wasn't an original idea. So I started Sans Vision. Everyone wants to say I had this great vision, but I had none. So it's fundamentally different. My first sale was a computer, which broke because I put it together wrong. I had passion.
Passion's good?
No skill. So we quickly started getting into websites and then email marketing and search. So that changed quite quickly. But I guess you could say, given the first sale, we haven't sold a piece of hardware, and we've been going for almost 16 years, 15 years. So that's changed. Financing actually, I guess, was two sources. So my first source was actually probably my best business at school, which was scalping concert tickets. Actually, one specific concert, I'm embarrassed to admit this, it was a Bon Jovi concert. I do not like Bon Jovi. Can I tell you a fact about Bon Jovi, though, which I only discovered recently? That Bon Jovi, John Bon Jovi, gets all the money. He pays the band a salary. They're not a band. They're Oak who pays some musicians some cash.
There's
True
a
story.
businessman.
Pretty impressive. He must make a lot of money in those sexy tight pants. But when they came to South Africa, I knew that concert was going to be huge. I was in Standard 8 at the time. And the biggest band that had been to South Africa in the past, we'd had Queen, and we'd had Indecent Obsession. Ooh, they were so bad. Indecent Obsession. Strawberry. No. I did not go to that concert. We had UB40, which has bad memories for me because I got rejected by a girl. It was just bad. It was like one of my first proper dates at UB40 at Loftus. I put my arm around her, and she pushed him away.
Rejected.
Yeah, I was. It still hurts. But I still like UB40. I'm uncool like that. And then I heard Bon Jovi was coming.
And you were like,
so, and I don't like them, but I saw opportunity all over the place. Everyone was like, "Ooh, Bon Jovi tickets are going on sale." So it was actually one of the greatest 24 hours of my life. Then they were going on sale on a Wednesday morning. On the Tuesday night was the Iron Maiden concert. Now that I was excited about. So myself and two mates, my mother did not know at the time that I was going to the Iron Maiden concert in the middle of the Joburg CBD at the age of 15.
Nice.
Luckily, my one mate's mom was very liberal. So she took us there, and it was so awesome. I was in the mosh pit, getting slammed around by bikers, and they were so loving. For bikers, I mean, you see them and you think, I'm going to get beaten up.
Right.
But I would get thrown down the mosh pit, they'd pick me up, I was crowd surfing. One even gave me this little jacket, not little, it was huge, with badges, and he said, "You keep that, young man," because they were so happy that I was there. And then Eddie came on stage, the big Iron Maiden guy. It was one of the greatest nights of my life. And then I went straight from there to the Bryanston Shopping Centre, where I stepped on the cold, hard concrete floor, so I could be first in line to buy Bon Jovi tickets the next morning. And you were only allowed to buy, like, I don't know, 4 or 5,
Yeah,
whatever.
that's the rule. Yeah.
So the woman arrived at the CompuTicket, like they had a special box. They weren't in a store, they were in like a box, which is what CompuTicket did back then. And she arrived maybe half an hour before opening, and I immediately set upon charming her. Because I knew I was in front of the queue.
You opened a can of charm.
I did. And I was like, look, I've been waiting here all night, look at the concrete. Whoa! That was concrete on my face, and I bought 200 tickets.
200 tickets.
I borrowed money, I borrowed credit cards. One of my mates' moms had a shop in that shopping center. I went to her and I said, "Look, I will repay you with a 20% interest rate in 3 months," which was a fairly good rate. That's better than African Bank.
Yeah.
And she gave me her credit card because they loved it. I mean, and actually, I think probably 3 or 4 of my parents' mates gave me their credit cards.
They were like
Risky
into this.
business.
This is,
but they just thought like this is
invested in this child. Yeah.
And I sold the tickets for at least 200 Rand each. Some of them 500-600 Rand. It was daylight robbery. You know what nearly happened though? So these things sold out in 20 minutes. So I did time it right. 2 days later, big concert says, "This was so popular, we're opening another day." But luckily, peer pressure was such that most people had got tickets for that day. So if you went to the second concert, you were lame. So this became the hot to trot event. I didn't actually see much of the concert. I drank a whole bottle of chocolate liqueur. I may have not had a great time.
Afterwards, no, absolutely not.
Yeah. We had to sneak the booze in the girls because they were frisking the guys. And all
But
the
the girls
had
just walked out there.
underwear full of booze. Those were good times. Obviously, there was no underage drinking
Crazy
involved.
stories. No.
But I used that money to stock work. So I was actually quite into the stock exchange back then.
Okay.
I'm not anymore. And so I put them in some stock. I didn't actually make that much about that, but I think I had about 10 grand. and then that grew to whatever, nothing massive. And then I said there were two things. There was that, and then when I got to the end of my fourth year, which was in 2000, so the business has been going almost 2 years. It was obviously time for me to go out into the big world, but I wasn't making enough money. So I said to my mom, will you lend me the money to pay my rent? She certainly wasn't going to throw out the spending money. So she did. She charged me interest. Okay. That's just how my mom rolls. And I actually, it's a good thing. I was kind of irritated about it at the time.
Come on, just give it to me. Come on, come on. But Tom wasn't working.
But no, my parents are awesome. They've really been very supportive. So actually, without that, I wouldn't have been able to do it. I mean, I had to eat carrots, but at least I had a bed and a roof. So she did. She covered my rent for a year, and that helped a lot.
Okay.
Like it was a cheap rent.
Do all successful SA entrepreneurs start in the garage like Rob Stokes, or are incubators now delivering the results? Your thoughts?
So I started in the bedroom. Garages are dirty. I think it's too early to say, actually. I think the principle of the incubator is a good thing, and certainly, internationally they've proved themselves. I think the question you would have to ask, or the analysis you'd have to do, is if you looked at 1,000 startups who had exited an incubator, done the full thing, exited it, let's say at least a year ago, what percentage of those startups have achieved what we would define as success, whatever that may or may not be, and then take another 1,000 startups who did not go through an incubator and see what's higher or what's lower. I just don't actually have the data to answer that question. I mean, my gut says incubators are good. I think a good incubator can be a very good thing. I sometimes worry that they create a certain complacency. But I think that's the entrepreneur or entrepreneurs, not the incubator.
Okay.
It's kind of like, well, I've got in here and now I'm going to be successful. And it's actually, that's the beginning of the journey.
The beginning of the actual failure. I was saying today that you'll fail once and the second one take it on. And the second time you try, you might actually, I'd rather back a guy that's tried at least once or twice before, because then he's been through all that learning.
Would you back him if he failed 5 times?
So
what's the ideal number of failures?
No idea.
Interesting, though.
Very interesting. Okay, one question quickly from the crowd. Anybody brave enough to put their hand up? A question from the crowd?
Well, I want to answer this question here from Anonymous, but we can get to the crowd.
We'll get to you, Simon.
What do you think of the SA Dragons Den that started last week? So, have you guys seen that? Have you seen the popcorn guy? It was the funniest thing I ever seen in my life. Have you seen it?
I don't have a TV. I don't have a TV.
This oak.
I don't have a TV.
He makes this machine. It's so funny. I was weeping on the couch. He makes this machine, which actually is not a terrible idea, to flavor popcorn. But what is funny, and I've watched every episode of Dragon's Den from the States. I love it. He arrives there, and he's made his machine out of old Tupperware. that he's like sellotaped together. And the dragons are like, what is this? And he shows, look, you put your spice in here and you turn the handle and it spices it, which is actually not a bad idea. But it was just that he'd busked this thing together 2 days before, and then he says, I want R1,000,000 for 10%. Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
But I think it's great that it's happening, I must say.
Well, the guy's trying. At least next time you'll ask for half.
I think it's good to raise the profile of entrepreneurship. You just don't want to put them on Dragon's Den if they're going to make popcorn machines. I hope that oak's not in the audience. Sorry. Was there a question over here?
Okay, cool. Thank you very much, Rob.
Oh, really what about that oak's question?
Simon, come. Yeah, shout it out.
Obviously, you're quite a humorous guy to listen to. Is it easier to make jokes when you've made your money or when you started out?
Simon. Well done, Simon.
Simon, this is why no one likes you.
We love Simon,
Simon, that's an unanswerable question. I just am who I am, and I don't take life too seriously. And someone asked, did you have more friends after you made money? I don't think so. And if I did, I'd be wary.
Very wary. So anybody becomes friends with you now?
More people come asking for money. Oh, my hat.
Really?
Hi, it's so-and-so from Standard Bank. Remember that bank that gave you shitty service for 20 years? We've got some great stuff to sell you. Shit. So many people want to sell you stuff. I don't have any money. I spent it already.
Done. Gone. Awesome. Paul,
Yeah, let's do this.
are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Tweet competition. And then while Paul is busy doing the Twitter competition, he's going to be announcing the winner, there is a fish bowl. And I actually forgot about our wonderful mascot. So this is Jaws the fish. Is my thing still on here? Okay. So this is Jaws the... Hello? What's going on here? Okay. So this is Jaws the fish. And hashtag Jaws the fish. There we go. Or at Sept the red fish. Huh? There we go. And the idea behind these awesome little critter is that you get onto Twitter or Facebook and you tweet at him. And you say whatever you want to. And people get on and they see this and they interact. And the idea is by interacting with Jaws the fish, you are given another platform to advertise your business and advertise and speak with other people. And sometimes people have a Twitter account and they've got absolutely no idea what to say. Well, then say, hey, Jaws, what are you doing today? There's a whole story about Jaws. If you want to go into the tweet streams and then the history, he was hijacked. In fact, I kid you not, there has been one Jaws that has gone up to the Kruger National Park and he was stolen. Oh, was it actually eaten? Has it been found out now? Okay, so
It's made of
literally
wool.
disappeared. It literally disappeared. So
The fish.
the fish.
Was it a real fish?
The fish. This fish.
Someone ate something like that.
Yeah. Well, it was the Kruger National Park. We don't know what ate it, but
It's non-organic.
yeah. Anyway, Jaws the fish on Twitter is really cool. Interact with him. And the fishbowl.
Is the fishbowl around?
Oh, here it is. Has
it
everybody
funny?
put their stuff in here? Do you want to do a last minute round?
Should we do a last little swoop while we're doing the
Okay.
Twitter?
There we go. Thanks,
competition?
Louise. She'll land that around. Just put your business card in there. And then,
Right
Paul,
luck.
do your thing.
Right luck.
Paul,
Yes.
do your thing.
All right. Rob, thank you.
Thank you,
that
Paul.
was
You were
pretty
great.
awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you
No,
very
no,
much.
thank you.
I think tomorrow, training manual is going to be written. Chapter 1, just be awesome, or train your guys to be awesome. So thanks for that little note there. We've got some good news, guys. We trended across South Africa today.
Across South Africa.
Previously, it was only Cape Town.
Hey, Dad Herschel Gibbs.
Damn. Well done, well done.
I think number 1 trending was Jake White. Obviously,
Was who?
Jake White. Jack White.
Jack White.
Jake White. No, Jake White. Rugby, Sharks.
Oh, right, that guy.
Yeah.
Right.
We were number 3. Good stuff. I think that's good going,
Who was
guys.
number 2?
Well done.
Thanks. Oh, Corso Prayer.
That's unexpected.
On a random Monday night, you know?
That shit is hot right now.
We've had some really good tweets coming through tonight. I'm not going to list them all because we'll be here all night. There was one particular one that I wanted to point out because it has been quite a humorous session. This was from Engage24. Do you know that the anagram for Rob Stokes is broke toss?
I did not know that,
Well,
but thank you for working that out.
you can do this.
I feel better now.
Showed you. But on the winning tweet tonight, the wonderful Christina Mathis. Thank you very much for your
Christine.
serious tweetage tonight. You were on fire. You probably got carpal
Where is
syndrome
Christine?
tomorrow. She's over there.
No, you come forth.
Hang on, let me read the
You
tweet.
get a fish.
I'm actually going to do the book because you can get on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Gee, can I read the tweet?
What did she win for?
Yeah,
Was
well-
it the most awesome tweet?
No, the most awesome tweet. So entrepreneurship is the best thing you can teach someone in school, even if it's hashtag in the box. So basically start a new movement, get entrepreneurship into the schools, I think.
Okay.
All right,
That's
so
a
the
start.
fishbowl.
Cool.
So
Fishbowl. Here we go.
we go.
And that you can hold. Okay, well,
should we give it a shake?
give it a shake.
Do I have
Hold
to
it
take
around.
out?
You take out
Yeah,
your
take
thing.
it up.
So nothing in my sleeve.
There you go. Random. And the winner is of this amazing
Rob
book.
Stokes.
Nice try.
It's, I even know this like Martin Russ.
Martin
Ras as in the Ras.
From Byte Orbit. There he is. There we go.
Marty!
Gnarly. There we go. Well done,
No one
well
drops
done.
a fishbowl in a business card like you, buddy. I mean, you know what I mean. Thank you. You were
Awesome.
great.
Thank you so much. Okay, get another one. You see, now he's going through the color, checking it out, knowing the brands. Must watch out there. There we go.
Oh dear. I do not know how to pronounce your surname. Conrad from Zuna, whose surname has no vowels. Conrad.
There he is.
Well done to you, Conrad.
Well
How do I
done.
pronounce your surname? Jeez, you got some aura, dude. How do we pronounce your surname?
Grzegorz.
Exactly.
Javas.
Say it.
Grzegorz.
Yakshimash.
Excellent. There we go. Thank you so much. And Rob,
To last a long time.
you get a Jaws of Fish.
Oh, that's so great.
There we
I've been
go.
wanting
All
one of
yours.
those.
You tweet it.
Wait!
There is more.
There's also more in there. Is
I
this
don't know
a
what's
little
in there.
secret gift from you?
No, I did not put it in there.
It is 1 South African rand.
Boom!
Huh? Thank you, G. That'll pay for the parking.
Thank you, and thank you for your time. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.